Om Sai Ram. Let us understand chapter number 22, warding off of untimely death. But before that, let us do the Namasmaran, followed by chapter number 22, warding off of untimely death. And we will conclude chapter number 22 with the Aarti. श्री सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय। ओम श्री साई नाथाय नमः। 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 ओम साई राम। Chapter number 22, warding of untimely death. I bow to Shri Ganesh, I bow down to Shri Saraswati, I bow down to the Guru, I bow down to the family deity, I bow down to Shri Sita Ramachandra, I bow down to Shri Satguru Sai Nath. Hail Sadguru, the cloud of happiness, the incarnation of the supreme knowledge and the holiest of holies. Hail to the remover of the fears of this world and the destroyer of sins of the Kali Yuga by burning them. You are the ocean of bliss on which waves of different emotions are formed. You yourself are in control of them. Bless your devotees. The illusory snake of the semi darkness becomes a rope in the daylight. Both semi darkness and daylight is your creation. You are the one who gives birth to the notion of existence of a serpent. You are the one who changed that form into a rope. You are the creator of fear, and you are the one who removes that fear in the end. In the very beginning of time, when there is complete darkness, there is neither a serpent nor a rope, and there is no scope of any notion of any kind. Even that state of formlessness is only you. Later on, when the formlessness develops into a form in the semi light, it gives false notion of a snake. This is also created by you only. This concept of appearance and non appearance is the manifestation of the sport of your changing moods. Your real nature is free of both existence and non existence. Thus, nobody can fathom you. The Shrutis are silent about this. Even Shesh, the legendary serpent with his thousand tongues, found them inadequate. Who am I then to understand it? Baba, nothing else pleases me than your darshan. I feel that I should keep your form in front of my eyes all the time and meditate on it. You are the incarnation of pure knowledge. To achieve the goal of happiness, there is no other path to us than to be at your feet. Oh, how pleasing is your familiar posture when you are on your seat. Many devotees come to take your darshan, bow down their heads at your feet, gathering in their own happiness lovingly. And how does your foot appear? Your toe appears like a moon seen between the two branches of a tree. As you hold it between your fingers, it fulfills the keenness of darshan. At the end of the fortnight of the darkest part of the lunar month, after the last night of Amavasya passes off, all the people are naturally eager to have a look at the moon. As soon as the bright half of the lunar month starts, there is hope to sight the moon, and everyone eagerly looks into the sky in the westerly direction. That keen desire of your devotees is fulfilled by you at that time when you sit with your right leg crossed onto your left thigh, the index and the middle finger of the left hand forming a V shape. Hold the right foot and the nail of the big toe is close to the thumb. This shines like the moon on the second day. People have a great desire to look at the moon, but if the crescent of the moon is not seen in the sky, when those who have knowledge tell you to look through your fingers and say, now look through this space, you will be able to see the moon in front of you. Although the crescent of the moon is small, you can see it right at the spot. Great is the glory of that big toe. Being Venimadhava yourself, you are made the Ganga and the Yamuna appear and satisfied Dasganu. When he asked permission to bathe at the Prayag, he was told, know that this is my toe is Prayag. Believe in this and you have a dip here. As soon as Baba said this, Dasganu put his head on his feet and the waters of Ganga and Yamuna both appear at spot from his two toes. Das Ganu had composed a song on that incident with the words "Boundless is your power and marvelous is your deeds," etc. While the listeners were keen to listen, they can find it in the fourth chapter of the Sai Satcharithra. Das Ganu had sung it himself. If the listeners read it again, they'll enjoy it again. Therefore, like the spotting the crescent moon between the two branches by keeping the index and the middle fingers on the toe of his foot. Mother Sai shows a simple way of meditation to his devotees. This is to tell us that to be most humble before everyone, concentrate on the toe. That is the very easy way to devotion. Now we will go back to the previous story about how the devotee was. Pay attention to the next part of the story, which is unparalleled. Shirdi had become an holy place, the holiest of holies because of Baba. Day and night there were flow of devotees who were pious and desirous of acquiring merit. In all the 10 directions, people bore witness to the Kalpavriksha in the form of Sai, manifesting in Shirdi through the personal experience or that of others. He regarded the rich and poor alike and with inconceivable skill ensured the welfare of the devotees. Oh, what a pure, affectionate nature! His natural wisdom and his extreme brotherhood, uniform treatment of all. Blessed is the one who experienced it. Sometimes he is silent, and that itself is a long lecture on Brahman. Sometimes, when he is surrounded by devotees, he is the supreme energy, the cloud of happiness. Sometimes his speech is full of deep and secret meanings. Sometimes he talks humorously, and the other times he gives up indirectness and is outspokenly angry. Sometimes he reveals his inner feelings. Sometimes he is controlled. Sometimes he speaks openly and bluntly. Thus he preaches different things in different ways to different people. Such is Sai Samartha's pattern of behavior. Beyond the powers of mind, intellect, and speech, his deeds cannot be grasped. They are unexpected, incomprehensible, and sudden. Our longing to see his face, to talk with him, and to hear his leelas were never satisfied. Still, we were overflowing with joy. One could count the drops of rain, tie the wind in a leather bag, but how can one measure his powers? So be it. Now listen to a story further on about how much Sai cared for the safety of his devotees and also about how he warded off their inscrutable difficulties and how he would forecast the difficulties to befall his devotees and give them timely fortitude to them and rescue them and give them refuge at his feet. Thus, he was always ready to act for their welfare. An episode which will illustrate what is said above follows, which will please you who are keen to hear it. It will give joy of being in the company of Sai and strengthen the faith of his devotees. It matters no matter how fallen, deprived, or ignorant a man is. If he develops love for listening to the stories of Sai and chants his name continuously, Sai will take him across the ocean of existence. Kaka Saheb Mirikar, who hailed from Ahmednagar, had bestowed the title of Sardar by the government as it was pleased with him. His son was a conscientious worker and Mamaltadar of Koppargaon. While he was on an official tour of Chintali, he came to Shirdi to have darshan. He went and sat in the masjid and bowed at Baba's feet. They chatted, making formal inquiries about health and general welfare. A large group were present there, including Madhav Rao. Savor now the nectar of the wonderful story with rapt attention. How the future difficulties were forecast, how he took measures to avoid them, how he protected his devotees. All these deeds were of Baba were indeed amazing. At that time, Baba asked Mirkar a curious question. Oh, this is our Dwarkamai. Do you know it? Bala Sahib did not understand the question at all. Baba said, now look, this is our Dwarkamai. This is our Dwarkamai. When sitting in the lap of the masjid, she safeguards the children and there will never be any question of worrying. The Masjid Mai is very kind. She is the mother of all innocent and faithful devotees. Anyone may face any difficulty, she will be readily there to protect. Once a person settles in her lap, all his difficulties are solved. He who lies in her shadow, he will be full on the throne of happiness. This is that Dwarka, Dwarkavati. Then Baba gave him Udi and kept him protective, hand on his head, after which Mirkar got up to leave. Baba again thought of putting a question to Mirkar. Do you know the long Bhava serpent and its mysterious powers? Then he closed his fist and took his left arm near the elbow of his right arm and holding it moved it around and said, he is terrible like this. But what can he do to us? We are Dwarkamai's offsprings. Nobody can comprehend her activities. Just quietly watch her wonders. When Dwarkamai is here to protect, how can the long Bava dare to attack? The strength of the attacker is not comparable to that of a savior. How can it be explained? Why should Baba explain this at this point of time? And how was Mirkar connected with it? Everyone were curious to know. He did not have the courage to ask Baba. Therefore, he put down his head at his feet and saying that he was getting late to go to Chittahali. He climbed down the steps. Madhavrao was also with him. As soon as both of them reached the gate of the courtyard, Baba called Madhavrao back, saying, come back here for a moment. Shama, you two get ready to go with him. Do a tour of Chittahali. You will greatly enjoy it. Immediately, Shama climbed down and came up to Mirkar. He said, I want to come with you in your Tonga to Chittahali. I will go home, make arrangements, and will be back in a thrice. Baba said that I should go along with you to Chittahali. Mirikar said to him, what will you do coming so far off up to Chittahali? It will be unnecessary trouble for you. Madhavrao came back and told Baba what had taken place. Baba said, all right, what do you have to lose? Mantra, Tirth, Brahmin, God, astrologer, doctor, or the Guru. In the case of all of them, the gain is in proportion to the faith that you have in them. We should always wish for the best and give suitable advice. Even then, what is destined will happen. But now Mirkar began to doubt his decision and thought that he should obey Baba's words. Therefore, he quietly made a sign to Madhav Rao and asked him to go with him to Chittahali. But Madhav Rao said, wait, I will come. I will take Baba's permission again. If he says yes, I will return instantly. I will quickly come back. I started to go with you, but you made me go back. Then Baba said, all right, what do you have to lose? And he made me sit quietly. Now I must consult him again. If he says yes, I will come immediately. I will do exactly what he says. I am only his obedient servant. Then he went to Baba and said that Miracle was inviting him to go with him to Chittahali and is asking your permission. Sai smilingly said, all right, if he is taking you, you may go. Her name is Masjid Mai. She will never let her reputation suffer. After all, a mother is a mother. very loving and very compassionate towards her children. But if the children turn out untrusting, how can she take care of them? Then, bowing down at Sai's feet, Madhavrao set out and went where Mirkar was waiting to sit in his tonga. Both of them went to Chittahali and on enquiry found out that some officials who were to come had not yet come, so they waited quietly. There was a place to stay at the Maruti temple. Therefore, both of them immediately proceeded at that place. The night advanced and it was about 10 o'clock. Spreading out their cotton carpets, bedding, and pillows, they sat chatting in the light of the lamp. There was a newspaper lying about. Mirkar opened it and started to read. He got absorbed in a certain piece of news. Then a strange thing occurred. At that evil time, a snake came. No one knew from where it coiled itself and settled down without anybody's knowledge. It sat quietly and peacefully on one end of Mirkar's soft uparna, which was lying on his waist. When it had quietly entered, the sound it must have made was absorbed by the rustling noise of the newspaper. Therefore, nobody had any suspicions of the serpent. Although the situation was so tense, Mirkar was oblivious to being engrossed in the news. But his peon's imagination ran wild. From where is the noise coming? What kind of a noise is this, and what is the cause? The peon thinking thus, he lifted the lamp, and lo, he saw the long Maharaj snake. As soon as he saw it, he was frightened, and he called out softly, "Snake! A snake!" Then Mirkar lost his composure and shivered all over. Shamra was also amazed. He said to himself, "Baba, what have you done? From where have you sent this difficulty? Now you must remove it yourself." Then, under the circumstances, everybody armed themselves with whatever was handy and moved forward stealthily. By that time, the serpent, which was resting below the waist, was seen quietly moving away. Oh, but not a serpent. It looked like death personified was approaching. Then, in no time, the calamity was arrested, and the clubs and other weapons, which were already ready to strike, fell forcefully on the serpent, and it was done in pieces. In this way, the danger passed. Having witnessed this, Mirkar choked with emotion, and his love for Sai Samartha was strengthened all the more and overflowed. Goose pimples, which had appeared due to fright, subsided. Tears of love flowed from his eyes. He wondered as to how the calamity was warded off and how Baba came to know about it. How did this fatal calamity miss me? How did Baba give me timely warning? Even though I had refused, Shama was made to sit in the Tonga to help me. What kindness of heart! How omniscient he is! How sweetly and how greatly did he warn me about the evil event! He pointed out the importance of darshan, asserted the power of the masjid, revealed his own love for his devotees by a simple act. Once a famous astrologer whose name was Nana Dengle was with Srimad Bhuti. Listen to what he said to him. Today is a very auspicious day. Some calamity is to befall you. Have the courage, but be very careful. After Dengle had said this, Bapu Sahib was restless. He kept worrying all the time, and time dragged heavily. Later on, the whole group went to the masjid at a usual time. Bapu Sahib, Nana, and all others went along and sat with Baba. Immediately, Baba asked Booty, "Well, what does this Nana say? Does he predict your death? Do you have nothing? You have nothing to fear. Retort to him without any hesitation. You can kill me if you dare to." After this, now watch what miracle happened. In the evening, Bapu Sahib went outside to the toilet to ease himself, and in the toilet there came a snake at that time. Looking at the terrible creature, Bapu Sahib came out, while Lahanu, his servant, Though thought of killing it with a stone. Lehnu tried to pick up a stone. Bapu Sahib objected. He said, "Go bring a stick. It is not right to do this kind of work hastily." When the servant left to get the stick, the snake began to climb the wall, suddenly lost its balance and fell down. Then he crept away through the hole. From there it escaped and there remained no reason to kill it. The incident reminded him of Baba's words, and as it were, the ordeal was over for both the serpent and him. Be it so. For him who has by good fortune witnessed the pleasure of Sai's company, it is the source of joy forever, and it is impossible to forget. By making the devotees undergo such experiences, he attracted the hearts of his devotees, and to describe them in words, it would be always inadequate. Here is also a similar story. At about midnight, it happened in the Chawdi before Baba. Please listen to it. A certain Amir Shakkar, owning ancestral land at Korale in Kopargaon Taluka, had faith in Sai. By caste, he was a butcher, and by occupation, he was a broker. He was well known in Bandra. He was greatly suffering from a disease which had affected his limbs. Difficulties reminded one of God. He left the toils and troubles of business, wounded up everything, and hastened to Shirdi. Kunti, the mother of five Pandavas, had to undergo all kinds of suffering, to reside in the jungle for years incognito. But in spite of all her difficulties, she asked for misery as a boon from God. She said, "O Almighty, you may give happiness to those who ask for it, but give me continuous suffering always. Let me never forget your name. O God, this is my only request. If you want to grant anything to me, give me only this, so I may never forget your name. It will be like an ornament around my throat." Listeners and the speaker, let us ask the same from Sai, day and night. Let us not forget your name. Keep us at your feet. So be it. Amir bowed down and kissed Baba's hand with proper ritual. He related in detail about his disease and prayed for relief from the suffering. He had asked for protection to go against rheumatism, which Baba answered. "Go and live happily in the Chawdi." From the masjid, Baba used to go to the Chawdi every alternate night regularly, and Amir started living there. Amir was suffering from pains in the joints, therefore, he would have been comfortable at any other place in the village, or he would have even gone to Kolhare, which would have been more agreeable to him. But the Chowdi was an old and dilapidated building. The floor was uneven where chameleons, lizards, scorpions, and snakes roamed freely. Besides, lepers and other diseased persons lived there. Dogs roamed around eating leftover food. Amir was very troubled but could not say anything to Baba. At the rear side, there was a knee deep head of garbage. There were a number of burrows made by serpents and scorpions in the backyard. He was in a wretched condition, and it was a real ordeal of a lifetime for him. It rained from above and below. The ground was very wet. The place was uneven. Cold breezes blew through it. Amir was very worried. All his joints and his body were stiff. The place was wet and windy. It was an extremely wet place, but Baba's word served as a medicine. Rain, wind, or wet, the ground rough, uneven, or pitted. All this was not considered as Baba told him to live there. Although that place was questionable and unfit to live in Sai's presence and company, were a great boon. He stayed on happily, thinking those words to be his medicine. Amir Shakir lived at the Chavdi for 9 months. Just as one climbed the steps into the Chavdi, right in front, he spread out his bedding in the middle of the room. Rheumatism was totally gripped in his body. Seemingly, the anecdote was also adverse, but in his heart he had true faith. Therefore, everything smoothened out. Amir was asked to live there for 9 months and was prohibited from coming for darshan even in the masjid. But that chawdi, which was allotted to him to stay, was such a place that without any effort it was possible to have Sai's darshan. That too every day, morning, both morning and evening. Besides, alternate days at both times, he would witness celebrations at Chavadi to his heart's content. Every day in the morning, when Baba went to beg alms, Baba passed the Chavadi on his way. It was easily possible for Amir to have darshan when Baba went or returned without leaving his place. Although also at sunset, Baba would come in front of the Chavadi and would pay homage to all directions, bowing his head and moving his index finger. From there, he would turn back and walk to the corner of the samadhi and build from here, and he turned back to the masjid accompanied by the devotees. He came to the Chavdi every other day, and there was only one curtain between them for namesake, actually a wooden shutter. Thus, they were able to converse and both loved to talk. Puja and Aarti would take place there only, after which the devotees would disperse for their respective homes, and the two of them would get opportunity to talk peacefully. Seemingly, it was an imprisonment, but in reality, he enjoyed Sai's company fully. Without good fortune, no one else would have had this rare opportunity. Yet, Amir got fed up at staying in one place. He felt it was an imprisonment, and though thought of going away to some other place. He, who is fond of independence, can he like this bondage? Enough of this confinement, thought Amir. He left his allotted abode without Baba's permission, went to Kopargaon and stayed in a dharamshala. See what a curious incident happened there. A fakir who was dying was lying there, distressed by extreme thirst. He said, "Give me a mouthful of water." Amir felt pity. He gave him to drink water, but as soon as Fakir drank it, he fell down lifeless. He died. There was nobody in the vicinity, and it was also night time. Amir became nervous. He thought that it that in the morning, officially, inquiry would take place about his sudden death. They'll start rounding up people, and the government will inquire into it. Who is going to believe when I tell them what really happened? The outcome will be dependent on the witnesses and findings. Such is the legal process. If I tell the truth, then when I gave him water to drink, the fakir died suddenly. After that, I will be walking into their net. I will be the first person who will be caught in this connection. Later on, when the real cause of death was discovered, I will be proved to be innocent. But until that it is decided, what torture will I have to go through. Therefore, I should run back the same way that I have come immediately. He decided that. Therefore, Amir quit the same place the same night before anyone could see him. As he walked, he kept looking backward all the way as he was disturbed state of mind. How will I reach the Chavadi? His mind was not free from fear. Amir had such doubts as he walked towards Shirdi. Oh Baba, what have I done? How will I draw this burden upon me? My own actions have brought me fruit. I have understood this fully. I left the Chavadi in the hope of finding a better place. Therefore, you have taught me the lesson. So be it. Now take me out of this predicament and see that I reach Shirdi. Thus, he got himself ready, and Amir left that night itself, leaving the corpse behind in Dharamshala. Baba, Baba, he said, please pardon me and have mercy. He walked, petitioning all the way till he reached the Chavdi. He then got relief. In this way, Amir learnt a lesson and took an oath to behave himself. Later, Amir behaved well and gave up the wrong and crooked path. So be it. His faith bore fruit and he was cured of rheumatism. Now, listen to what incident took place later on. The Chowdi was divided into three parts. Baba's corner was in the southeast. He slept in a place covered on all four sides by wooden planks. Lamps burnt there the whole night. He slept always in the light. Throughout the night, Fakir and others used to sit outside where it would be dark. Amir was one of them. Around him, there were other people who would also lay down. There were also many like these. There, behind Baba's living quarters, was a storeroom which a devotee called Abdul, a very detached person, he was always ready to serve Baba. This is how it is. Once at midnight, Baba cried out to Abdullah and said, "Look, I have found a ghostly creature near my bed." He went on calling him repeatedly. Abdul came running with a lamp in the hand. Baba loudly said, "Wasn't she here just now?" Abdul said, "I have looked everywhere. There is nothing that I see here." Baba said, "Open your eyes and look carefully everywhere." Abdul searched everywhere again and again, and Baba kept hitting on the ground with a satka. The people who slept outside woke and began watching. Amir Shakkar also woke up. He wondered, what is all this commotion today? Why is it that there is so much of noise of the satka in the middle of the night? Seeing Baba's actions, Amir was immediately scared and thought of the snake that had entered, and somewhere Baba was aware of it. He had a long experience of Baba. He knew Baba's nature and in the manner of speaking. Therefore, he understood this fully. If there was any danger to a devotee, Baba would say that it affected him. Amir was aware of this kind of speech. Therefore, he had come to the conclusion. Just then he saw something moving near his own pillow. "Abdul, bring the lamp." "Lamp here," Amir shouted. When the lamp was brought outside, a large serpent was seen coiled there. He was dazzled by the light and he began to move his hood up and down. It was killed immediately. He felt very grateful to Baba and thought how extraordinary this method was to making us become aware. That mention of that ghost and calling of the lamp was only a kind of a trick to caution the devotees of danger and save them from calamity. There was a huge number of such stories about serpents in Baba's biography, which could be described, but then this book would become very voluminous. Therefore, I have to curtail them. Snakes and serpents are Narayan, but they would be worshipped from a distance. Says Saint Tukaram. He calls them wicked and deserving of beating with a shoe. However, the opinion is not unanimous, and the one is left with doubt as the mode of one's treatment to it. One acts according to one's nature, keeping it God's will. This is the essence of it all. There is only one answer to this question. All beings are equal, and non violence is always the best. Baba too had the same explanation. Whether it is a scorpion or a snake, God is within them too. If He does not wish to harm, no harm will be done to them. The whole universe is under the command of God. Nothing left here is independent. This is Baba's knowledge through experience. But we cannot accept that because of ego. Once the scorpion fell into the pond as he was drowning and his head to the bottom, a man happily clapped and said, "Oh, you likewise harm us." Another, hearing and clapping, came running to the bank of the pond and saw the scorpion bobbing up and down while drowning. He moved and took pity on him. He went near it and picked up the scorpion between his fingers, but the scorpion, according to its nature, jumped up and stung his fingers. In such a case, our knowledge is limited. We are entirely slaves of destiny. God, who bestows us with intelligence. Everything that takes place in our life is according to His wish. Different people have varied experiences. I will also tell my own experience. Sai's words are the authority for my faith, and my faith is my glory. Just as Kaka Sahib Dikshit read the Nath Bhagavat in the day every night, and he read the Bhavarat Ramayan by Eknath. It was so regular that sometimes even the offering of flowers to God could be missed, or he could miss other customary duties and neglect his bath, but at the time which he himself had allotted for reading them was always adhered. Both these books, written by Eknath, contained the essence of the divine knowledge. Dikshit thought them to be Sai Samartha's blessings to him. In these two unique books, which were always appealing, the knowledge of self, non attachment, and praise of ethics. These three qualities continue to form the threefold wick of flame which shone with divine light. He who also sipped from the cup containing the nectar of preachings of these books is fortunate. He overcomes the threefold difficulties of the material world at the same time and reaches the ultimate moksha. By Sai's grace, Dikshit needed a listener, and I got the opportunity to listen to the Bhagavad and was very much obliged. I began to attend the sessions day and night due to good fortune which purified my ears. So be it. One night when I was reading was in progress on the pious stories, an incident occurred. The listeners should listen to the story, which is a digression. Well, how can I help it? I am inspired by something else while describing another. But why should I ignore which I know to be interesting? An interesting story of Ramayan was being narrated about Hanuman, who, on his mother's instructions, tried to test his master's powers and ended by experiencing terrible miseries. When Hanuman was caught in the cyclonic winds, which was created by the feathers of Ram's arrows and went round and round in the sky. He was scared to death. At that time, his father Vayu came to his rescue. Listening to his father's advice, Hanuman surrendered to Ram. While this part was being narrated, something amazing took place. Listen to it. Our mind was engrossed in the story. Each one was involved in the delight of listening when a scorpion, incarnation of death, appeared. God only knows from where. I do not know how he got fond of the narration without any knowledge. He jumped onto my shoulder and settled himself down, enjoying the sentiments of the story. Look, here too Baba was alert. I was not aware of its presence, but God protects those who loves his stories. I looked casually and saw a terrible scorpion calmly perched on my right shoulder on the Uparna. He did not move at all and was quietly paying attention as a very attentive listener would, and was peacefully seated at his seat. If, as was his nature, he had moved its sting just a little bit, he would not have allowed me to enjoy the freedom and peace and would have given me unbearable pain. The story from Ramayana was in full swing. The speaker and the listeners were engrossed in the story. All this would have been spoiled. Such is the omnious companion who sees was difficult and a dilemma. This was the greatness of the story of Ram. No possible obstacles can be more powerful than it. They have to become repentant and forget their innate nature. By the grace of Ram, I was endowed with intelligence. I could ward off the difficulty quietly. One should not depend till the last moment on this creature of unsteady nature. The Uparna which I had covered myself, I gathered cautiously from two sides. folded the scorpion in it tightly, took it out to the garden and spread it out there. The scorpion in nature is naturally a terrible creature. Given the opportunity, it would have shown its nature. I was truly afraid, but Baba's strict orders could not be overlooked. I could not raise my hand to kill it. Here, the listeners will naturally have a doubt. Isn't the scorpion a deadly creature? Doesn't it deserve to be killed? Will it give pleasure if it stings? Then why should it not be killed? But nothing is clear. Snakes, scorpions, and venomous creatures. Can anyone afford to neglect? Would Baba ask to release them? This listener's doubt is correct. I too had the same apprehension. But listen to Baba's words on the occasion of a similar incident in the past. The situation was more serious than this. In Shirdi itself, at Kaka's house, in a room on the upper story, near a window, a poisonous snake was seen. It had entered through a hole in the window frame and was dazzled by the light of the lamp. It was sitting coiled near it. Though it was dazzled by the lamplight, it had got startled because of the movement of people around. When there was commotion, it was stunned and remained steady for a while. It neither went back nor did come forward, but it moved its hood up and down. The most urgent thought of the moment was how to kill it. Some got clubs and some got sticks hurriedly, but they found the place difficult for maneuver. They were greatly worried. If it had crawled a little farther and climbed down to the wall to the floor, it would have reached my bedding first. It would have caused had catastrophic consequences. A hit in the viral spot could just kill it. But if the fatal stroke missed it, it would take vengeance and bring calamity. Therefore, a lamp brought and aimed at him. Then he found a way to escape. However, its hour of death had not yet come, and our luck is also strong. It was a precocious moment. Baba had protected all of us. It slithered back, though, the place where it had entered. It was free from fear, and everybody else had nothing to fear anymore. In this way, we were mutually happy. Then Muktaram, a devotee, got up and said, "It is good that the poor thing had escaped. If it had not slipped away, though through the hole, it would have lost its life." When I said when I saw Muktaram's outlook of kindness, I felt hurt and thought to myself, what is the use of compassion for dangerous creatures? How would the world go on otherwise? Muktaram seldom came, but we used to be here morning and evening. Besides, my bedding was placed near the window, so I did not like those words. He initiated the argument, while I took the diametrically opposite view. A big argument took place, but no conclusion was reached. One said that the snake should be killed without a moment's delay. The other said, why should we unnecessarily be inimical to an innocent being? Some condemned Muktaram and some supported me. The argument warmed up and there was no end to it. Finally, Muktaram went downstairs. I changed my sleeping place. I inserted a wooden piece into the hole and then spread out my bedding to sleep. Eyes became drowsy and assembled people went to sleep. I started yawning and the argument naturally ended. The night passed and it was morning. I finished the morning ablutions. Baba returned from the lendi. People started gathering in the masjid. As was customary in the early morning, I came into the masjid at usual time. Muktaram and others too came and were in their seats. Some were crushing the tobacco in their palms. Some were filling Baba's chilam. Some pressed his hands and feet. Thus, all were busy serving him. Baba, who was aware of everyone's innermost thoughts, softly asked, what was the discussion that took place last night in the Vada? Then I told Baba everything that had transpired and asked whether a snake should be killed or not under such circumstances. But Baba maintained just one thing, that God is present even in serpents and scorpions and in all beings. Therefore, we should love all. God holds the reins of the world. All are under his command. Whether it is a snake or a scorpion, it cannot act against his will. Therefore, we should be kind to all living things and love them. Give up violence and have patience. God protects everyone. How many such stories of Sai Baba can be narrated? Therefore, the listeners should be certainly gathered at the essence. The next chapter is even sweeter than this one. It is about an incident where devotion and faith combined in one person, the devotee Dikshit, and how, with the strength of these, he readied to kill a goat. May there be well being. This is the end of the 22nd chapter of the Shri Sai Satcharithra, written by the devotee Hemat Pant, impelled by saints and virtuous people, called warding off of untimely death. This is offered to Shri Satguru Sainath. May there be auspiciousness. Now let us conclude chapter number 22 with the Aarti. श्री सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय. शिर्डी माझे पंढरपूर, साई बाबा रमावर, बाबा रमावर, साई बाबा रमावर, शुद्ध भक्ती चंद्रभागा, भाव पुंडली गंजागा, पुंडलिका जागा, भाव पुंडलिका जागा, याहू याहू अवघे जन, करा बाबा श्रीवंदन, साई श्रीवंदन, करा बाबा श्रीवंदन, तनु बने बाबा साई, पाव पाव माझे आई, पाव माझे आई, पाव पाव माझे आई. बनेलो तांघन बने कचरण, तुया पायन रूप तुझे, प्रेमीन रंगीन अनंत पूजिम भवेव मा इन बने नमा, त्वमेव माता पिता त्वमेव, त्वमेव बन्धु सदा त्वमेव, त्वमेव विद्या दैरङ्गमेव, त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव. पायनुमा चापसनिर्म उद्याकनावा पतन स्वभाव, करोमि यज्ञं सत्यन्तरस्मै, नारायणाय समर्पयामि. अच्युतं केशवं राम नाम नारायणं, कृष्ण दामोदरं वासुदेवं हरे, इदवं माधवं गोपिका विल्लवं, जानकी नायकं रामचन्द्रं हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. श्री गुरुदेव दत्त सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय. Om Sai Ram. I urge all the listeners to read one chapter of the Sai Satcharithra daily and soak in Baba bliss. Baba bless you. Om Sai Ram.